Hello my dear students. Today we are going to study the story The Verger by W. Somerset Maugham. W. Somerset Maugham was born in the year 1874 and he died in 1965. He is very important author in English literature and he belongs to the first half of the 20th century. He was born in Paris and educated at Canterbury, England and Heidelberg, Germany. He was qualified for medical profession, but later he gave up the idea of becoming a doctor as his first novel, Liza of Lambeth, published in 1897, was a huge success. And he soon became a very famous novelist, short story writer and playwright. His famous novels are Human Bondage, published in 1915, and it is semi-autobiographical in nature. The Moon and Sixpence, published in 1919, which is fictionalized life of a painter. Cakes and Alley, published in 1930, and The Razor's Edge, published in 1944. About this story. This is the story about the Verger, as the title indicates. And it is a story taken from his short story collection entitled Cosmopolitan. Maugham in this story ridicules one of modern man's most cherished institution, that is education, formal education. The Verger is not formally educated in this story, but he displays very unusual problem solving skills over here as he becomes a successful businessman, though he loses his job. He turns his lack of job into a golden opportunity. So let us read the story. The Verger, as you all know, is attendant in a church. There had been a christening that afternoon at St. Peter's, Naville Square, and Albert Edward Foreman still wore his Verger's gown. So this is the leading character, Albert Edward Foreman, and the story surrounds him. The story is about Albert Edward Foreman, and he is working at St. Peter's, Naville Square. He wore it with complacence, for it was the dignified symbol of his office, and without it, when he took it off to go home, he had the disconcerting sensation of being somewhat insufficiently clad. This Albert Edward Foreman, he is very much proud of the job he is doing as a verger in the St. Peter's church, and he is very much proud about the gown which he is wearing as a verger. And when he goes home every day, he has to leave that gown in the church, and at that time he is very much upset. Disconcerting means upset, and complacence is self-satisfied. It means that when he is wearing that gown, he is very much satisfied, and when he leaves that gown in the church, when he goes home, he feels a bit upset. He feels he is insufficiently clad. So he is very much satisfied in his job. He took pains with it. He pressed it and ironed it himself. He kept that gown of verdure, which was the symbol of some position which he was holding in that church, and therefore he took lot of efforts to keep clean that gown. He used to wash it, he used to press it, iron it himself. During the 16 years he had been verger of this church, he had a succession of such gowns. He had been working in that church from last 16 years, and he had kept all the gowns which he had got as a verger during all these years. But he had never been able to throw them away when they were worn out. He had never thrown a single gown which he was given, and though they were worn out, though they faded, though they had become old, he kept them. The complete series of the gowns which he has been using, which he has used during all these years, neatly wrapped up in a brown paper. So he kept them in the brown paper. He had a collection of all those gowns. Lay in the bottom drawer of the wardrobe in his bedroom. He had kept it in the drawer of his wardrobe. This indicates that he was very much proud of the job he was doing in the church, and he loved that job. He did that job very sincerely and honestly, and he was completely satisfied in the work he was doing. He never complained about it. The verger waited for the vicar to have finished in the vestry so that he could tidy up in there and go home. Vestry is a room in the church where sacred vessels and vestments are kept or meetings are held. Vicar is, you can say, father in the church, so he waited for the vicar to come out so that he could clean the place and go home. Presently he saw him walk across the chancel, genuflect in front of the high altar, and come down the aisle, but he still wore his cassock. So here, chancel is the part of the church where the altar stands. You can imagine the church in front of your mind's eye, and you know the altar, the part of the church where the altar stands. Genuflect, bend the knees and bow in the church or before a religious superior image. Religious superior or image. In Christianity, when you pray, you bend down on the knees in front of the Jesus Christ or the statue of the Mother Mary. So that is called as genuflect. And cassock, gown worn by a priest when he performs religious ceremonies in the church. So here he is waiting for the vicar who is praying at the aisle. Near the aisle he is praying. So the verger is waiting for the vicar so that he can clean the place and go home. What he is hanging about? Hanging about? Here it means hanging about. So it's a colloquial phrase over here. What he is hanging about for? The verger said to himself, "Don't he know I want my tea?" Why he is doing or taking so long today? What he is doing over there? The verger asked the question to himself. He knows very well that at this particular time, I go home for my tea. The vicar had been but recently appointed. This vicar was a new appointment in this church. A red-faced, energetic man in the early 40s. So here is the description of the vicar, red-faced, the man in the 40s, early 40s. And Albert Edward still regretted his predecessor, a clergyman of the old school, who preached leisurely sermons in a silvery voice and dined out a great deal with his more aristocratic parishioners. So this vicar is new in the church, and the verger and the vicar, they are still not well acquainted with each other. They don't know each other yet very well, and Albert Edward, the verger, is reminded about the earlier vicar who was from the old school, a clergyman who taught the sermons in the silvery voice. So he was very well comfortable. He was very much in a comfort with the earlier vicar, and still he was not well acquainted. He was not knowing about this new vicar. So he liked things in church to be just so, but he never fussed. He was not like this new man. The verger is reminded about the earlier vicar, who was a very simple man, and he never fussed. He had no issues with the verger. He never complained about any of the work which verger did. He was not like this new man who wanted to have his finger in every pie. So here this phrasal verb means to have his finger in every pie is to interfere in every matter. This new vicar, the verger thought, interfered in every matter. But Albert Edward was tolerant. But the verger was very much tolerant, very much patient man, silent man. St. Peter's was in a very good neighborhood, and the parishioners were a very nice class of people. So the church was located in a very nice neighborhood. The people who lived in the surroundings of the church, they were very nice. They were very cooperative people. The new vicar had come from the East End, and he couldn't be expected to fall in all at once with the discreet ways of his fashionable congregation. So here congregation means people who take part in religious worship. Still, the Edward, the verger, is not well acquainted with this new vicar, and he thinks that the new vicar is also not very well acquainted with the mob which comes for the religious worship in this church, because he is from different part of the city. All this hustle means here hustle, said Albert Edward, but give him time, let him learn. He will learn. But Albert Edward thought, he is new in this church, he will need time to learn the things over here, to learn the ways of this church. When the vicar had walked down the aisle so far that he could address the verger without raising his voice, more than was becoming a place of worship, he stopped. "Foreman, will you come into the vestry for a minute? I have something to say to you." The vicar called for the verger. He said, "Foreman, will you come into the vestry for a minute? Will you come into the room for a minute? I have something to say to you." "Very good, sir," was the reply of the verger. "Yes, I will come." The vicar waited for him to come up, and they walked up the church together. The vicar preceded Albert Edward into the vestry. Albert Edward entered the vestry first. The vicar entered the vestry first, and Albert Edward followed him. Albert Edward was a trifle surprised to find the two church wardens there. The two church wardens were already present in the vestry. The church wardens, they are the elected representatives of the people worshipping in a church. They help in administration. So there were the two representatives, elected representatives of the church already present in that vestry. He had not seen them come in. The verger was surprised. I haven't seen them enter the church or enter the vestry. They gave him pleasant nods. They nodded at him. They smiled at him. Good afternoon, my lord. Good afternoon, sir, he said to one after the another. So the verger greeted both the church wardens. They were elderly men, both of them, and they had been church wardens almost as long as Albert Edward had been the verger. So they were very well acquainted, means the verger and the church wardens, because they were the elected representatives of the church, as Albert Edward had been there for almost 16 years. Albert Edward faced them and wondered with slight uneasiness what was the matter. He was wondering what was the matter. He has been nagging them. He has, said the verger to himself. He had jockeyed them into doing something, but they don't like it. That's what it is. You mark my words. But his thoughts did not appear on Albert Edward's clean-cut and distinguished features. Albert Edward was worried why he was called in the vestry. What is the matter? He was thinking by himself. But he didn't show whatever he was thinking. It didn't appear on his face. His face was clean, and there were no signs of worries or disturbance on his face. He stood in a respectful but not obsequious attitude, and he stood over there in a very respectful manner. He had been in service before he was appointed to his ecclesial office, but only in a very good houses, and his deportment was irreproachable. He was tall, spare, grave, and dignified. He looked He was appointed to his ecclesial office, but only in a very good houses, and his deportment was irreproachable. So how is this verger? He was very tall, and before doing this job he used to work in very good houses, and his deportment was irreproachable. Spare, grave, and dignified, he kept his manners very well. He looked, if not like a duke, at least like an actor of the old school. Most of the people thought that he almost looked like a duke, a person from the aristocratic family, or at least like an actor of the old school who specialized in duke's parts. He had tact, firmness, and self-assurance. These are the qualities the verger had. He had tacts, clues he had, and he was very much firm, and self-assurance. He was very much confident person. His character was unimpeachable. Unimpeachable, that which cannot be questioned or doubted. He was the most trustworthy person. Nobody could doubt whatever he did or whatever the work he carried out. The vicar began briskly. Hurriedly he started speaking. The vicar. Foreman, we have got something rather unpleasant to say to you. We want to say something very bad. We have got a very bad news for you. You have been here a great many years, and I think his lordship and the general agree with me that you have fulfilled the duties of your office to the satisfaction of everybody concerned. You have been working in this church from very long time, maybe from 16 years, and you have done your duties very well. Regarding that, we have no complaints and we are satisfied, fully satisfied with your work. The two church wardens nodded. They agreed. The two church wardens also nodded, consented. But a most extraordinary circumstance came to my knowledge the other day, and I felt it my duty to impact it to the church warden. I discovered to my astonishment that you could neither read nor write. I was very much surprised when I came to know that you are a complete illiterate person and you have been doing your job very properly from these many years. The verger's face betrayed no sign of embarrassment. The verger, at this point, he felt embarrassed. He felt ashamed that he could not read or write. The last vicar knew that, sir, he replied. He replied very silently, softly. The last vicar, the earlier vicar, knew it and he had no problem with that. He said it didn't make no difference. So it made no difference for him. He always said there was a great deal too much education in the world for it's a test. It's the most amazing thing I ever heard, cried the general. Do you mean to say that you have been verger of this church for 16 years and never learned to read or write? This new vicar is very much surprised to know that this person, Edward, has been working in this church without knowing how to read and write on this position from last 16 years. I went into the service when I was 12, sir. The cook in the first place tried to teach me once, but I didn't seem to have the knack for it. Many people, Edward is very frank person and he told very frankly that many people try to teach me, but I don't have that kind of intelligence to read and write. And then what with one thing and another, I never seem to have the time. And when I got this job, I didn't get any time to learn to read or write. I never really found the want of it, and I don't think I needed it. I think a lot of these young fellows waste a rare lot of time reading when they might be doing something useful. And in my opinion, when you are reading, you are wasting your time. Instead of that, you can use the same time for many other things. But don't you want to know the news? Said the other church warden. Don't you ever want to write a letter? Don't you want to read the news? Don't you want to write the letters? The other church wardens asked him. No, my lord, I seem to manage very well without. And of late years now, they have all these pictures in the papers. I get to know what's going on pretty well. And my wife's quite a scholar, and if I want to write a letter, she writes for me. My wife is educated, she writes letters for me, and nowadays the newspapers have got pictures in the newspapers, so I come to know about all the news with the help of those pictures. So I don't mind, I don't get bothered, though I didn't know how to read and write. Well, foreman, I have talked the matter over these gentlemen, and they quite agree with me that the situation is impossible. At a church like St. Peter's, Navile Square, we cannot have a verger who cannot neither read nor write. And the vicar opened his mind. At the reputed church like St. Peter's, which is located at at Navile Square, we cannot have a verger who is illiterate. Albert Edward's thin, sallow face reddened, and he moved uneasily on his feet, but he made no reply. Sallow is unhealthy looking. Albert Edward The verger was very much hurt by this decision of the vicar, uh, and he was a bit disturbed. He was very much maybe angry because his face was reddened, and he moved uneasily on his feet, but he made no reply. But he didn't appear uh, arrogance. He didn't show any kind of arrogance in his behavior or in his manner. He slowly stood up but made no reply. Understand me, foreman, I have no complaint to make against you. The vicar said, I have no complaint against you. You do your work quite satisfactorily. I have the highest opinion both of your character and of your capacity. I don't have any problem with your work. You work very well. I am satisfied with your work, with your character, with your capacity, but we haven't the right to take the risk of some accident that might happen owing to your lamentable ignorance. But there is possibility, there is a chance that due to your illiteracy, some kind of problem may be created. But couldn't you learn, foreman? Asked the general. Somebody asked him, the other warden asked him, we can give you some time, and if you are able to learn to read and write during that time, we can continue your position. No, sir, I am afraid I could not know. You see, I am not as young as I was, and if I couldn't seem able to get the letters in me they had when I was a nipper. Nipper is small child. The verger denied that now as he has grown old, he was unable to learn to read and write when he was young, when he was a child. So now it's an impossible thing at this age, at this old age. I don't think there is much chance of it now. We don't want to be harsh with you, foreman, said the vicar. But the church wardens and I have quite made up our minds. We will give you 3 months, and if at the end of that time you cannot read and write, I am afraid you will have to go. So they have decided the period of 3 months, and if within that 3 months the verger is not able to learn to read and write, then he would have to leave his position as the verger. Albert Edward had never liked the new vicar. He had said from the beginning that they had made a mistake when they gave him St. Peter's. From the beginning itself, he was not happy with this new vicar. He wasn't the type of man they wanted with a classy congregation like that. He always opined that the people who come to St. Peter's, they belong to a particular class. They are a particular classy congregation, and this new vicar is not for such congregation. And now he straightened himself a little. He knew his value and he wasn't going to allow himself to be put upon. I am very sorry, sir. I am afraid it's no good. I am too old a dog to learn new tricks. I am sorry, sir, but I am afraid I will not be able to learn to read and write within these 3 months. I have lived a good many years without knowing how to read and write, and if I could learn now, I don't know as I would want to. I have learned these many years without being able to read and write, and I don't want to learn to read and write now. In that case, foreman, I am afraid you must go. So vicar declared his decision that if you are not ready to learn to read and write, you have to leave your position at this point immediately. Yes, sir, I quite understand. I shall be happy too, and in my resignation as soon as you have found somebody to take my place. I will resign and I will leave my position. But when Albert Edward, with his usual politeness, had closed the church door behind the vicar and the 2 church wardens, he could not sustain the air of unruffled dignity with which he had borne the blow inflicted upon him, and his lips quivered. He maintained his dignity till he closed the doors of the church when the vicar and the two church warden left the church, and now he was unable to bear the blow, unable to bear the decision which had been suddenly thrown upon him, and his lips were quivering. So my dear students, we have come to the half of the story. So in the next part, in the part 2, we will learn the remaining story. I hope you have understood whatever I have taught you till now. In the next part, we will go to the remaining part of the story. Thank you very much.